The Infamous review has been pushed back to next week since I was really busy last weekend, with it being my birthday and people wanting to take me out to dinner on Friday and Saturday. And I had to finish the Arkham Asylum review as I fell asleep doing it and had to re-upload it after fixing an audio problem. So I was tired and I just wasn't interested in playing Infamous, so I didn't want my review to reflect that. Instead, here's another one of my rambling editorial videos, and in this one I'm asking, does the phrase AAA games need to go? We never use this phrase as much as it is until the later half of the 7th generation of gaming. It was around during the 90s, but wasn't widely used like it is today. We've entered into an age of bland, copy and paste games that have overblown budgets, with most of the money being spent on marketing rather than game development. The marketing and gaming media hype up games so much that when they come out, no one really cares for them. They play them once and then move on to the next big budget game. Remember Titanfall? Watch Dogs? No one is playing those games anymore. No one is even keeping track of those games anymore. When was the last time you heard anything about new content for them? I know people bought the season pass for Watch Dogs, but I haven't heard of anything new coming out for the game. These companies that are making games are more concerned with making something that's a disposable product rather than something that will last a lifetime. They're essentially making $60 condoms. You fuck around with it for a little while, hit a climax, and then throw it away. It's rare that you get a game that you hold on to like a good suitcase. Remember all the hype that went behind Rift, calling it a World of Warcraft killer? Well, World of Warcraft is still going strong, and when was the last time you heard about an expansion for Rift? Or even Star Wars The Old Republic, another hyped up game. We have Peter Molyneux getting on stage, making promises he cannot keep. Then when he announces a new game, he says the one before it was garbage. Ubisoft has hyped up Assassin's Creed Unity to annoying degrees, and when it was released, it was a broken mess of a game that needed a few large patches to fix, and it's still rather broken from what I hear. All these games we buy always have a patch on launch day. They'd rather hit a deadline than delay a game to make sure it's complete. Remember the housing crisis that happened and all the businesses that were in danger of going out of business like General Motors, and those businesses got all that government money to keep themselves afloat? You kept hearing that these businesses were too big to fail, and that if they did, many people would lose their jobs, causing the economy to tank further, when the truth is they weren't going to fail. They just saw an opportunity to exploit a bad situation and get more money from it, as some of those bailouts the companies got went missing, also known as right into the pockets of the CEOs, or in the case of General Motors, spending the 2 bailouts they got on a smear campaign against Honda, which didn't really work. I think that AAA gaming is essentially the same thing, using a phrase consisting of buzzwords to get people on their side. General Motors saying that they were too big to fail so they could get bailout money, and the gaming industry calling their games AAA titles so they can get your money. The game industry has this attitude of make money now, worry about the consequences later. Hence all the stripped content to be sold as DLC or season passes and even microtransactions plaguing games that cost $60, raising the cost of them from $60 to $80 to $120 and up. I remember when games cost $50, and that was in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generations. But the 7th generation is when they jumped up to $10, which I think is because they were selling the systems at a loss instead of a profit. I can understand the PlayStation 3 being its price point at its time because as Blu-ray was brand new and expensive as hell. But now the parts and labor costs should be next to nothing, so there's no reason to sell the systems at a loss anymore if they're still doing that. Then you have people like the CEO of EA saying that games cost too much but not their games, and that their games are priced appropriately because they're AAA titles. It's a phrase that they use to try and get away with everything that they're doing, and there's gamers that defend them out of fanboyism. And I know that most of my viewers are younger, and when you get older you'll soon realize how much you've been lied to by the gaming industry, and you'll be able to see through all the bullshit, because right now you have a naivete that companies exploit to get you to buy things. Remember those Axe commercials? How they advertised that using it would make you irresistible to women? That's marketing for you, and the game industry is the same way. They show you how fun the games look, like with the Evolve commercials where it's 4 people with a 5th that turns into a monster. I guarantee you that commercial cost them a couple of million to make, and an even bigger sum of money to get it on TV and to pay for ads on YouTube videos. But games never needed this aggressive marketing to be sold. You'd rarely see a game commercial pre-7th generation. Most of the time, gaming ads were seen in gaming magazines and gaming websites and just through word of mouth. All this aggressive marketing is more of a waste and shows lack of confidence in their product if they have to shove it in your face all the time. Now, they may be trying to get non-gamers into buying games, but if that person doesn't play games, then more than likely your aggressive marketing is going to be a waste because they won't have the system to play it on. But that's the AAA industry. It's wasting more money than it'll make back. Look at all the studios that shut down because their game didn't make its money back. Not only is this AAA mindset hurting the industry financially, but it's also hurting its reputation. All these games that come out that aren't as good as promised. Look at The Order 1886. The game was praised for its graphics, but it was deemed as a mediocre game at best. If they didn't spend so much money on marketing the game, they could have put more into development and make it a truly revolutionary game. And that's why the term AAA needs to go. All these developers are shooting for the stars, but they're not even breaking the stratosphere. This goal of trying to make the world's greatest game is only hurting them. They want you to buy the game, but they're not focusing on making it. They go beyond their goals and budgets, causing the game to feel rushed and unfinished. Look at Tim Schafer. He started a Kickstarter for a game of his, which was funded, but then he added more things to it and ran out of money. Then he asked for more to finish the game, and when people denied him extra money, he said that the more money you get for a game, the more you want to do. When he was called out for his bullshit, he hopped on the anti-Gamergate train as fast as he could, so he could try to partly deflect all the criticism he rightfully deserved. He also stood up for Peter Molyneux, a developer that, as previously mentioned, is one that needs to shut his mouth and let the teams work instead of hyping up a game, saying that's going to cure cancer when it won't. I can understand him being passionate and excited, but he knows his own track record just as much as we do, so he does know better. And he does make pretty good games, he just oversells them and knows that he needs to stop. And if the phrase AAA went away, then maybe, just maybe, developers wouldn't have to worry about making the greatest game in the world. They can focus their budget on making a game instead of hyping it up. Then we wouldn't have those bullshots that we see. All those fake, pre-rendered, pre-programmed tech demos that they've been showing us. It's like Steam Greenlight and Early Access, only more expensive and devious. You don't need to make a AAA game. Just make it a good game. Nintendo's been making great games for years and they're not that hyped. I don't remember seeing Super Mario 3D World advertised that much. The most hype I've seen for a Nintendo game get lately was Super Smash Bros., and after it was released, the commercials stopped. Commercials for Destiny still ran after the game's release. And Super Smash Bros. Got much higher scores than Destiny, and it didn't cost Nintendo $500 million to make, with $200 million going for development and $300 million going to marketing. While Bungie said no to that figure, Activision confirmed the $500 million was correct. Why is it that Nintendo is the only company that's smart with their games and money, at least compared to all the other game companies out there? They don't spend that much on advertising their games. They pretty much just need to make an announcement and already it's sold. They just have to go on stage and say, here's a new Pokemon, Mario, or Zelda game, and people are already lining up to buy them. And why is that? Because they have lasting appeal. They're games you can always go back to and have fun. Not these bottle rockets that go off and you go, ooh, ah, and then wait for the next one. They oversaturate with these copy and paste games for quick cash grabs, while Nintendo is making games that you'll play for life. And that's the true meaning of a AAA game. A game that you'll hold on to forever because it's that damn good.